Hej och varmt välkomna. Mitt namn är Maria Karlsson Ossipova och jag är Life Science-analytiker här på Erik Penser Bank. Och härnäst kommer vi prata om strokevården faktiskt. Och det kommer vi göra med vd för Medfield Diagnostics, Stefan Blomsterberg. Varsågod Stefan, scenen är din.
Okay, thank you very much. Hello, and we'd like to say thank you to Penser for the invitation and getting the opportunity to talk to all of you, the audience, about the medtech company Medfield Diagnostics. Yes, we are all about stroke, so we are very into improving the stroke care and improving the stroke care process. A few words about Medfield. We are a spin-off from Chalmers University of Technology back in 2005. Have been doing research and development together with them for many years. And we are situated in Gothenburg, just opposite of Sahlgrenska University Hospital, so a strategic place. We are around 7 full-time employees in the company and in a commercialization phase because we got the CE certification in June this year. We are listed on the Spotlight stock market, MDF. All right. In stroke, time is really everything. I was introduced to a publication from the United States saying that if you save 10 minutes or if you delay the treatment by 10 minutes, you add on 40 extra days of rehabilitation to a cost of $10,500. Very much applicable to the Swedish situation, and if you count, you can easily do that. We have in Sweden approximately 24,000 strokes every year. So do the calculation and see what kind of saving you can do by cutting time by 10 minutes. It's an interesting one. So Medfield has therefore focused on doing better and faster decision support at the scene of the accident. It means both for the ambulance services, but also for the emergency departments. So Medfield has developed a fast and safe, easy to use system, battery driven, to be used in those two places. We have done deep interviews with both ambulance staff and emergency care staff. And going back to the ambulance staff, we understand it is a very critical and difficult situation for the ambulance nurses and people working in the ambulance service to do neurological examinations of the patient. They have today manual and subjective scales. And to be honest, there is a lot of scales used in different kinds of countries and regions. So it is a challenge really to do a good valuation of the patient with those scales. You need to have something in addition. When you talk to the emergency department personnel, you realize that it's a crowded place, emergency departments. Normally, at least when I go to the emergency department, I probably will be sitting there for a couple of hours. And if I have a critical illness like stroke or traumatic brain injury, it is not a good thing to be sitting there and wait. You need to have something early to say, okay, you need to go to CT immediately, to have some kind of a prioritization tool. And there comes Stroke Finder into the picture. Today, I know this figure is really challenging, but just 1 out of 5 get the right treatment in right time when it comes to stroke. So definitely we have a responsibility to do something here. The upper scale is the treatment process, the care process of today, to be honest. Within 1 hour, you call for the ambulance service from accident. They come, they do the examination, they take some decisions, and they decide to transport you. And in 95% of the cases, they take you to the closest hospital. And there you perform a CT and they realize, okay, you need to be taken to a center, and they reload you and transport you to a center, and you do examination, and then you have the treatment. And that is 4 or 5 hours away. And as you see in the timeline, it leads to years of rehabilitation for those patients. So the vision for Medfield is to come in early in the process, having the stroke finding ambulance service, take better decisions, quicker decisions, to cut the time, and in the future to be able to do the treatment in the ambulance or during the transport. Cutting time meaning shorter time for rehabilitation, months instead of years. So that is the vision for Medfield. Yeah, the game changer, definitely. This is a completely new technology, we know. Going from analog subjective scales to an artificial intelligence microwave tool, totally objective, giving blind results to the user. But what we can see is that the technology is accessible for the patient at the scene of the accident. So you don't need to bring the patient to the technology, you bring the technology to the patient. You can act quicker. You have a full scan within 2 minutes, so it's quite quick. It is powered by artificial intelligence and the microwaves. And yes, it is the same, I do it like this. It is the same technology as you have in your cell phone, but the power you send into the skull is just 1% of the energy when you're talking in the cell phone. So you can send it completely harmless to the patient and also the operator. It gives, as I said, objective results. Very, very important, to be honest, because today there are so many discrimination factors built into the system. I mean, it could be everything from age to sex to what country you come from, what kind of skin color you have, if you're well educated or not. I mean, we have all those factors in. We know, for example, that men get better treatment than women. We know that younger people get better treatment than older, etc., etc. We can eliminate very many of those discrimination factors by using the instrument. And yes, we got the CE certification of this device for use in the ambulance service and also the emergency departments in June this year. Some words about the studies we are performing. We have 3 stroke studies running, Sweden, Australia and Norway. We also have 2 trauma studies running, one in UK at King's College and one in Sweden in Helsingborg. Those studies bring, on a monthly basis, clinical data into the company. Meaning that on a monthly basis we get clinical data together with microwave data from the instrument, and we can build our databases to continuously improve the performance of the instrument. And it's a quite good setup of the studies, being able to do that. That means that we don't need to end the clinical study to be able to share the results or taking part of the results and so to say be able to build the performance. We can do that continuously. Yes, good. Something else that came out from the clinical studies recently, in October this year, there was a World Stroke Conference in Singapore. I just want to show this slide. I know it's difficult to read, but it is the abstract from the verification of the device when we did the CE certification. So this information is part of the technical documentation that we handed in to the authorities. And what makes me proud here is that we have all the names from the scientists behind the studies. So it is the PI from Australia, it is the PI from Norway, the PI from Sweden, and people around, of course, Chalmers, and people both in Australia, Norway, and Sweden, in addition to those PIs, standing behind the results. And it was good results. We have a sensitivity of 0.97 and a specificity of 0.48 on the instrument right now. Really, really good results, I must say. And I'm impressed by the results and also by the way that the PIs took this further on. So now they are writing on a publication, and I will get back to you when this publication is published. Thank you. Okay, some qualitative milestones from the company this year. I focus on this year because this is the most important. As I said, we were able to hand in the technical documentation to the authorities in January this year. We speeded up the process, worked really well with them, and in June we got the CE certification. Like I say, 6 months, I believe it is a world record, to be honest. After that, we did, of course, the commercial launch. We told the market, okay, now we are here with the CE certificate, and we have a product could be used in clinical setting. We had a good conversation with the Greek market at that time, and they wanted us to go down. So we took a trip to Greece, we made good arrangements, and we met very many clinics in a couple of days, and it ended up that they placed an order of 3 instruments immediately. Yes, I was a little bit surprised, but at the same time, I got the trust again from the clinicians and also the potential distributors that we now talk to, that this is a product for the future. So it was a good confidence built into that trip, and really, as you understand, worth it. So now we are focusing on the commercial thing around signing agreements with distributors for a few countries, and of course also collecting the data for further on improve the performance of the instrument. Yes, in Sweden, if we focus a few minutes about Sweden, every 20 minutes someone in Sweden has a stroke. Yeah, you think twice when you hear that number. And also, take it from another perspective, we are 4 in the room here, and if you can say, 1 of us 4 will have a stroke before we die. And that is quite challenging to understand that it is so common. I mean, besides cancer and heart attacks, it is one of the top 3 of diseases or accidents around the globe. So definitely a thing that we really need to take responsibility for and take care of. Yeah, we are addressing, as you understand, a huge market. We have, of course, the focus on the ambulance service and the emergency departments, and there are a lot of ambulance services around the globe and a lot of hospitals. But we also see the field hospitals. I think about the armed forces hospitals. I think about the Red Cross. Quite a few. And also we see a market with all the people that are on the ocean. Different businesses on the ocean, of course, but we see when we also have a good relationship with the offshore industry, of course. Thousands of people working out on the oceans, long distances from accident to qualified healthcare. So you really need to have good judgment to be able to handle those patients in a quick way and a fast way. That relates also to the cruising industry. Of course, you understand big ships around the globe traveling on the big seas, 4,000 or 5,000 travelers and a couple of thousand in personnel. Yes, it is a critical situation, and we know who like to cruise. It's the elderly people, potentially stroke patients, etc. So you really need to have a good tool to be able to support them. Big markets. And of course, sometimes you talk about the sports, because people call me and say, yeah, I should have this instrument on the arenas around the globe, because they are so valuable players in different sports, so they need to have good care when the accident comes. I think that is a more of a promotion thing, but yes, definitely something to take care of, but maybe not the biggest market, but I want to mention it because I always get those comments when I present the company and the idea. A few words about the market. As you can see, the compound aggregated growth rate from 2020 to 2030 is more than double. So yes, it is an interesting market, and the diagnostic industry for stroke is really there for the company and of course for some competitors in the future as well. The revenue streams for the device, we see, of course, we have the hardware. It is the MD100 stroke finder, the batteries, the handheld control unit, the tablet, I mean, and all the things around hardware. You also have the software, so you need to have some kind of a license agreement because you need to handle the upgrades in some way. And then we have the service part. I mean, we do maintenance, we do calibration, and there is a service component in the agreement together with the customers. And of course the consumables. Today we have a hygiene bag covering the most essential parts of the antennas, because you don't really want to spend time with alcohol cleaning from one patient to another if you want to have a quick scan of, for example, 5-10 patients. If you have someone kind of road accident or something that many people needs to be scanned, you can easily just change the hygiene cover. So that is the setup, and by this we see a good business in our offer to the customers. Yeah, the go-to-market strategy. As you understand, it's very much about relationships here for the company. We have built very many relationships along the development of the company since 2005. So building from that, meaning that we build with the scientists, the key opinion leaders, and we identify those in different countries, and we build relationship with those. They test the equipment, they use it in clinical studies, and we take it from there. And we build the network from those key opinion leaders. We create them to ambassadors, and then we take distributors that are related to those centers, and in that way we build a market. We have come a good way. For example, now we are talking to a few countries regarding distributor assignment of agreements, and we have a lot of key opinion leaders in different European countries and also outside Europe that we trust and believe they will be with us for the future. So that is the go-to-market plan. Yes, and we have, I must say, good traction when we're out there now. Every time we do traveling, we have at least 3-5 leads with us home. And as you understand, not every lead leads to a commercial agreement, but good traction, good talk, and good discussions. And so far, it has really paid off. Yeah, the management team, beside myself, we have Jonas, just recently recruited into sales and marketing. We have Jessica in quality and regulatory, also just recently recruited as a full-time employee. Just a couple of months ago, we had a consultant in that role, really skilled person. Now we change over to a really skilled person as well, but full-time employee that will follow the company into the future. Harald in R&D, very many years, as you can see, in medtech and microwave industry, so he knows everything about microwaves. And we have just Jenny in medical affairs, and as you can see, many years of experience within medtech and pharma. So this group of people will be the management team for the future in Medfield. A few words about the board of directors. We have some colorful people, and these people are new from the yearly meeting with the shareholders since June 2022. We have the people like Anders, Mikael Persson, who is the professor from Chalmers and the founder of Medfield. Stefan Jakobsen and Claes Beckman has been with the board of directors for a couple of years. New in the board of directors is Göran Roos, very experienced. He is a supportive person for governments around the globe and is working on a very high level, expert in innovation and strategy. We also have Björn Larsson, now CEO of RLS Global, is a medtech company in Gothenburg. And we have Ulf Troedsson, also in the board of directors, former CEO of Siemens in the Nordic countries and the Baltic. So an impressive amount of people and set of people with very good skills being able to support the company into the future of the commercialization. Okay, so why should you invest in Medfield? I mean, we have the critical persons and critical staff in place. We have the plans go to market, we have the strategy, and we definitely have the product. We also then have the market. We have the need of it in the ambulance, in the emergency departments. We see that when we are out talking to the customers and the potential customers. So, and we have the regulatory things in place. So that given, and I can understand that you also understand the need of this. So we have a really good position for the future. So that is the reason why you should put your money into Medfield. Thank you very much for me. I'm now open for questions. I believe it will be some.
And I do have some questions, of course.
Yes. Thank you.
You named that the product is very interesting for both the emergency care and also the pre-hospital care, and you have the key opinion leaders. But I'm mostly interested about what do clinicians say? Have you had any feedback from them? How do they like the product?
Yes, I mean, we have good relationship with the clinicians who are performing the clinical studies, because there we see the most use of the instrument right now. They have used it for several years. But what I can say is that they say it's easy to use, it's quick to use, and you don't see any harm to the patients. I mean, we have very, very few adverse events related to the product. You know, they are following up very carefully what is happening with the patients. And I think we have a few scratch on the nose, because some size of the heads leading to that the antenna, at least the forehead antenna, sometimes go a little bit down on the nose. I think we have 2 or 3 patients within 800 that has had some scratch on the nose. And that is the only thing, to be honest. So that is what they say. Mm-hmm.
That's really nice to hear. Is the hardware difficult to use? Do I need to be an educated personnel to use the machine, the MD stroke finder?
Yeah, in the instructions for use, we say you need to be medical trained, meaning that you need to have some level of nursing. But I mean, it's very easy to use. I can teach you to use it within 20 minutes. I mean, showing you and just getting the operation in place, I should say. But to be honest, they say, and that is the response to Medfield, it's very easy to use and it's quick to use. Mm.
And more on feedback. You've had quite an active fall. You've been on the roadshow in UK, for example. Can you tell us a little bit about the feedback you have gotten there? What are the impressions?
Definitely. Yeah, I had the opportunity to meet up with a few people, really interesting. Gary Ford, for example, he is one of the top neurologists in UK and really the stroke person. He has invented the fast scale, for example, and had a good interview with him. Some interesting information. He told me that in UK they spent in the meantime 35 minutes at the scene of the accident when you have a stroke call, and I think that is an interesting information. 35 minutes is quite, for me, it's quite a long time. He also talked about the performance of the scales. Someone also said, it was not him, but someone else in the group said, you understand why it is so many scales used in the world? No, I said, I don't really understand. It's because no one is really working. So they always try to invent a new scale. When Jenny in the management team visited the European Stroke Conference this spring, 2022, one of the first speakers at the conference said, the community of stroke do not need another scale. So I think that is some wordings about the standard, the gold standard today, and what we can see around the corner when we talk about technology like Stroke Finder. Mm.
You have mentioned yourself the competence in the team right now, and you have actually recruited some other people, like you mentioned. Mm. Can you tell us a little bit more about them? Who are they, the new recruits at Medfield?
Yes, definitely. Jonas has a very good background as an ambulance nurse, and he's been out commercially working for very many companies for I think 10, 15 years. So he has both experience sides, and he started now the 1st of October. And we had the first commercial order in October, so I don't know what you can say. He is quick-footed. He understands the business. He knows who to talk to. And just to give you a little bit of a story, before he started, he helped me a little bit during a few days of vacation at the FLISA conference. It's an ambulance conference in Sweden. We were visiting Piteå, and when he entered the doors, everybody said, "Yeah, hello, Jonas. Hello, Jonas." I mean, he knows the people in at least in the Swedish ambulance community, and I think that is a very good sign that okay, his network is really of importance of course, for him, but also for Medfield in this case, and we will have a great opportunity to work with those people because we have the relationships. Mm-hmm. Jessica, I know Jessica from my previous. Employee situations, and I met her a couple of years ago, so I was really happy when we were searching for that kind of person that she applied. I saw her name, and I definitely immediately saw, okay, this is the person for the future together with Medfield, and she decided to join, so I'm very, very happy for that. So a few words about the new people. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
A great commercial start and very ambitious plans. And about the ambitious plans, how are you looking at the possibilities for upscale in both sales and also the production? Do you have the possibility to scale up?
Yeah, when it comes to sales, I see we get really good traction when we are out there visiting different countries and different markets. It is a huge interest. Of course, the interest needs to be transformed to business. We know that it is a gap between those two. But I mean, we have the interest of a reason. And very many see the need for it. If we take Greece, if we just stay with Greece for a while, I mean, people talk about all the islands outside the mainland Greece. There are a lot of people living there, and it's very much related to the cruising industry. You know, you have like ships, like small islands with a lot of people, and they don't have qualified healthcare on those islands. So you need to have something that could help them making the right decisions when you have critical illness among the population. So having the Stroke Finder on the islands will give you valid information back to the receiving hospital when you have critical ill people. So that is the way they see it. And of course, if you look into challenging infrastructure, for example, in Norway, for example, in Australia, for example, in Canada, yes, those factors also will affect the decision making, and they look into what kind of tool do they need to use to get good decisions when it comes to deciding what to do with the patient. So different kinds of you can say geographical implications and challenges will create a need for a better tool to use when you talk about stroke. Mm.
Yeah, most definitely. I can see the flying doctors in Australia definitely have a need for that. And speaking about Australia and Canada and Greece for that matter, and maybe Norway, the countries that really have long distances to travel, what are your plans and thoughts on the global expansion? Are you planning to do it now, or is the focus only in Europe just as of this moment?
Mm. Yeah, it's a good one, because it is a challenge really, because we get calls from countries and markets outside EU. And of course, as you understand, when we are in a scale-up phase, it's difficult to say no to those people. So we really need to take these situations in consideration and with quality. But the focus for the company is, of course, where the CE mark is valid, because there we can do quicker business. We can do business in a good way without additional applications, additional regulatory work. So I believe the process is faster into those countries, of course. So that is, we have the focus. I mean, we have told the market in press releases and other ways. We have the Nordic market as a focus. We have European market as a focus. For example, UK. We talk about Netherlands. We talk about Germany, for example. Those countries are in focus. Portugal could be one. But again, we have some interest. You know, we are working with clinical studies in Australia. They like the CE mark. They have ratified the CE mark. You need to have an additional application to TGA, and you need to have what they call a sponsor in the country taking care of all the legal things. So some additional regulatory work to be able to be operating there. And of course, we are considering that. We need to look into, okay, what kind of market share can we take there, and what is the business like? So not decided yet if we should go there and do business, but definitely an interesting one outside the European community and the CE mark.
And this extra eventual regulatory work that you are maybe going to have to do, how well is it harmonized with the EMA in Europe and the CE mark in Europe? Is it the same rules that apply, or are they similar? Do you have any advantage that you already have a CE mark in Europe?
Yeah, I mean, the regulated market is really trying to harmonize, and we see that now. Australia, for example, they have ratified the CE certification. They say, okay, this is valid here, but not only the CE certification. You need to do an additional application to TGA to get the product registered and so on. So, I mean, we have the same situation for UK now when they have left the EU, but still, I mean, we have a window of opportunity to work in the UK market with the MDR CE for a couple of years before they change the regulations. But we know that it is some countries outside as well that has, you know, an approval of the CE certification as the regulatory, and of course we need to consider that as well. But that is where we are.
All right. And speaking of UK, you have you're doing some studies there, as you mentioned in your presentation. Can you just give us a brief update on for example, the trauma injury study? What is happening there? What is the progress so far?
Yeah, we're working with King's. We have, to be honest, we have reworked the protocol for the study somewhat, because the protocol was very much designed for very sick patients. And when you understand you deal with very sick patients from traffic accidents, because that was the main recruiting target group, we understand that it is difficult to treat those very critical or ill patients in a study. Passing, you know, having a pathway through the study and into the care process. So we have not really recruited as expected, but we have designed the protocol a little bit different now, so we will be able to increase the number of patients in the study, not taking only the most critical patients, but also the less critical patients. So it will improve along the way. But of course, the trauma study is interesting because we believe that that could be the next level of application in the system.
We will be looking forward to hear about the progress more in the future. And actually, you've been here at Erik Penser Bank for 8 months ago, I think, and you presented here with us, and you told us about what your plans for 2022 are, which the first one was to get a CE mark, and the second one to get the first commercial order, and you have achieved that, and that's great. So what's in the plans for 2023?
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. 8 months ago I was here, and yes, I believe I promised the CE certification before September. We got it in June. Our first commercial order before the end of the year. We got in October. I think somewhat we have Medfield has over-delivered a little bit, and I'm very happy for being able to do that. The plans for 23 is really to expand the sales and marketing side of Medfield, to build that. To build that area in Medfield to be, you know, fully commercialized, meaning that we will sign a couple of distributor agreements. Of course, we will open up a few markets. We will hopefully open up some more clinical studies, because you know that is the food for the future, so to say, to be able to build better performance and more performance. And when it comes to Stroke Finder, yes, the word is and the name of the product is Stroke Finder. But as you understand, the technology and examination of the skull gives more opportunities. As we said, we talked about the trauma study. So being able to diagnose traumatic brain injuries, the bleedings inside the skull, is definitely an application that we would like to go into, because we use the same hardware. We just change the software. And that is maybe the fastest way to something new and the fastest way to a new business. So that's why it's quite interesting. So using the same hardware, adding on applications on the skull diagnose part will be the business focus for the coming years.
really exciting times ahead.
Definitely.
Thanks so much, Stefan. We look forward to follow your progress, and thanks for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thanks.